This is despite all the odds, and the story of how Starbucks Workers United gives us hope for the future of unionization. So, the giant megacorporation of Starbucks may market itself as a haven of community, providing a lively cafe for consumers and a decent job for its baristas. But the realities of day to day life as a worker for the company have informed us otherwise. After COVID, Starbucks workers across the country began to find that they were experiencing the same systemic problems, and something needed to change. It all started in Buffalo, New York. Workers in the city's Starbucks on Genesee Street were talking about starting a union back in 2019, but it wasn't until the spring of 2021, after the pandemic and the Great Resignation had left employees with a new understanding of their job and their labor, that they started getting serious. They reached out to the local chapter of Workers United, a union affiliated with the Service Employees International Union, for guidance and formed a committee of workers from area Buffalo stores. Soon thereafter, 3 Buffalo stores went public with their plan to organize in August and filed a petition with the NLRB to unionize under Starbucks Workers United. The company immediately pushed back, flooding the stores with support managers who tried to convince the workers they'd be better off without a union. At the Buffalo location, their then CEO Howard Schultz required employees to attend a meeting where he outlined the consequences of unions. Starbucks relocated workers to split their efforts to organize, overstaffed locations ahead of votes to unionize, and repeatedly turned away workers with pro-union sentiments. All this a part of what's been described as a scorched earth union busting strategy, alongside their partnering law firm of Littler Mendelson. But despite this incredible corporate opposition, on December 9th of that year, the Elmwood Buffalo location became the first company-run Starbucks store to form a union, winning the vote 19-8. It was quickly followed by the Genesee location. Michelle Eisen, a barista at that first unionized Starbucks, told Recode, "Before winning in Buffalo, we didn't know if it was possible." What she's showing here is how each store's organizing effort is an asset and inspiration to the next, Buffalo being just the first of these. From these other stores, new organizers learn what works and what doesn't, not to mention what to expect from corporate and how to respond. And this movement spread like a wildfire across the nation, with workers using the more accessible form of worker-to-worker organizing instead of having to hire a full-time organizer. And to quote Richard Minter, vice president of the Workers United Union, "The scale, the energy, the pace, it was like nothing else in labor history." In the first year, more than 300 Starbucks stores in close to 3 dozen states had union elections. Even more remarkable is that 80% of them, or around 245 stores, went in favor of forming a union. But this only made Starbucks push even harder in their scorched earth union busting campaign, their tactics ranging from blanketing employee communications with anti-union messaging, including in one-on-one meetings, to announcing raises and benefits for non-union stores only, to firing workers identified as union leaders. They've always had one clear and consistent message: employees don't need a union because the company has always provided for them, or so they say. To prove this point, Howard Schultz then announced a slate of new benefits for Starbucks employees, including faster sick time accrual, expanded training opportunities, and credit card tipping. But the kicker is, these benefits, which were argued for in the demands of these workers, were exclusively for non-unionized locations of Starbucks. Almost immediately, and rightfully so, Workers United filed an unfair labor practice charge against Starbucks, accusing the company of misleading employees and violating labor law by threatening benefits amid a union campaign. But those complaints and others did nothing to deter Starbucks. After, Starbucks unveiled even more benefits for non-union locations, including financial tools aimed at helping employees build savings and manage student loan debt. As the struggle dragged on, it seemed that Starbucks was willing to do anything in its power to dissuade workers from unionizing. These labor violations stacking up urged Congress to call Howard Schultz, their then CEO, before them for a hearing. And faced with the heat of the company's union-busting tactics, Schultz stated that although union stores and their partners are recognized, the relationship with Starbucks isn't. Starbucks throughout this scandal remained relatively unscathed, but still, despite the union tactics of Starbucks slowing down the pace of this movement slightly from its incendiary beginnings, workers across the country were still fighting for their rights and organizing, striking, and gaining public support over the following year. And finally, with great perseverance, in February of 2024, Starbucks agreed to begin discussions on a framework for collective bargaining for its unionized stores, as well as to resolve ongoing litigation. And in this time following the election, with uncertainty brewing in the domain of unionization and labor rights, with corporate oligarchical power only promising further empowerment in this country, we direly need a reminder of our power to fight back. Though their fight is not over as they enter contract negotiations, this fight has served to demonstrate how the current age provides workers with a new, effective way to organize.